So what about people like Mr. Shastri and all other similar people out there? Who will help them? This is where we want to focus our research proposal on.
So we just completed the complete case study का research in less than 10 days. तो बेसिकली हमने 10 प्लस रिसर्च पेपर्स पढ़े, 5 एक्सपर्ट इंटरव्यूज लिए, एक दिन पूरा एम्बुलेंस में जाके स्पेंड किया एंड 2 डेज हमने डिफरेंट हॉस्पिटल्स को विजिट किया एंड फॉलोड बाय लॉट्स ऑफ ब्रेनस्टॉर्मिंग. तो मेन ऑब्जेक्टिव ऑफ दिस रिसर्च वाज कि हम लोग को समझना था कि करंटली इंडिया में इमरजेंसी सिचुएशंस कैसे डील होते हैं एंड व्हाट आर द गैप्स इन दोस, ताकि हम लोग उनको सॉल्व कर पाए एंड वी कैन सेव मोर लाइफ्स इन द इमरजेंसी सिचुएशंस. तो उसके लिए पूरा हमने रिसर्च किया था, इंटेंस रिसर्च ऑफ 10 डेज. तो हमने जितना भी रिसर्च किया था, हमने एक डॉक्यूमेंट्री वीडियो बनाया था उस पर, जिससे हम लोग हमारा पूरा प्रोसेस डिपिक्ट कर पाए, अलॉन्ग विद द जो इंसाइट्स हमें मिले थे वो सब भी उसमें आ जाए. तो आई जस्ट वांटेड टू शेयर द वीडियो विथ यू गाइज. तो आप एक बार देख के बताना कि व्हाट यू थिंक ऑफ दिस रिसर्च एंड आपके क्या व्यूज़ है ऑन दिस.
When I was 9 years old, my grandfather died because of heart attack.
He was suffering from stomach ache for the past few days, but thinking it was nothing serious, he wasn't taken to the hospital. When he was taken to the hospital, due to lack of infrastructure, the treatment was delayed. This is not just limited to me, and most of my teammates have faced such a problem or have experienced it firsthand, which is what motivated us to take up this problem statement given by Leardal. Fueled by this motivation, we visited a lot of hospitals and interviewed many stakeholders, which is what enabled us to understand that there are a lot of problems in this space, especially in India, which faces a set of unique problems. Let us start with a story. Mr. and Mrs. Shastri are an old couple living in Hyderabad, and their son works as a consultant in USA. One day, Mr. Shastri falls ill, and thinking it is nothing serious, Mrs. Shastri gives him a homemade medicine made up of neem, tulsi, and other ingredients. The next day, Mr. Shastri's fever worsens, and not knowing what to do, Mrs. Shastri visits Raghu's clinic, who she has known for the last 10 years. She describes the symptoms to Raghu, and even though Raghu is not a certified doctor, he prescribes medicine. Mrs. Shastri continues to give prescribed medicine and homemade remedies to Mr. Shastri for the next few days, but his condition worsened. Not knowing what to do, Mrs. Shastri calls her neighbors in a state of panic, asking for help. The neighbor calls an ambulance, and the ambulance manages to take Mr. Shastri to the hospital. In the hospital, during the initial examination, the situation was found to be severe. The doctor rushes to help Mr. Shastri, but is unable to start any treatment due to lack of prior medical history and knowledge of previous intervention. Multiple days pass by, and the doctor conducts multiple tests. Meanwhile, he gives Mr. Shastri some general medicine to control the situation. But the general medicine works slower than expected and causes organ failure after a few days. During the next few days, the test reports come back and it is confirmed to be sepsis. But it is too late, and Mr. Shastri unfortunately passes away. Mr. and Mrs. Shastri are not the only ones facing this problem. Similar situations occurs to many families across India, especially elderlies. For example, gas issues on the surface level seem like a very common problem. But due to ignorance, people might not realize that this can cause heart issues which might lead to heart attacks. According to Dr. Srilata, working in critical care at care hospitals, most of the emergencies are not even detected in Hyderabad. This point can be supported with the fact that less than 2% of people in India can recognize and act appropriately in the case of an emergency, compared to 51% in countries like USA. This indicates a huge gap in Indian emergency care. Elderly people are the most affected by this problem because of the high illiteracy rate, 56%, and high economic dependency on others, about 65%. Apart from this, 23% of elderly in India are living alone, preventing them from having any support from bystanders in cases of emergency. Due to these reasons, elderly face a mortality rate of 4.5 times higher than their younger counterparts. With elderly population predicted to increase from 14.3 crores in 2021 to 17.6 crores in 2026, this problem is more relevant than ever. Many solutions are available in the market, but most solutions don't seem to cater to the Indian context. During our primary research, we had a conversation with many elderly people, and we came to understand that they are not aware of solutions which are trying to solve their problems. and these solutions are not able to reach their intended audience. According to Dr. Safi, who works as an associate consultant in emergency medicine at Apollo hospitals, the problem of elderly in India are largely ignored and overlooked, and unless their situation becomes extremely critical and severe, they are not brought to hospital. So, what about people like Mr. Shastri and all other similar people out there? Who will help them? This is where we want to focus our research proposal on prioritizing elderly well being in emergencies, identifying key areas for action in preparedness and response. We cannot wait to dive further into the problem statement and help Leardal save 1 million lives every year by 2030.
तो होपफुली आपने पूरा वीडियो तो देख लिया होगा, तो एक बार कमेंट्स में बता देना कि आपको वीडियो कैसे लगा एंड कहाँ पे हम लोग इम्प्रूव कर सकते थे हमारा थॉट प्रोसेस। तो ये तो हुआ वीडियो का, और मेन थिंग बिकॉज ऑफ विच आई रिकॉर्डेड दिस वीडियो वॉज कि मतलब मुझे बहुत लोग बोलते हैं कि हमारे पास टाइम नहीं होता रिसर्च करने का, एंड आई वॉज लाइक कि टाइम इज़ नेवर अ फैक्टर व्हेन इट कम्स टू डूइंग केस स्टडीज़। इफ़ वी आर क्लियर कि हम लोग को क्या करना है एंड हम लोग के रिसर्च ऑब्जेक्टिव्स क्या है, इवन 1 to 5 days में कंप्लीट रिसर्च हो सकता है। ऑल द थिंग दैट इज़ रिक्वायर्ड इज़ कि आपको बस जुगाड़ करना आना चाहिए, सो दैट आपको गिवन पीरियड ऑफ टाइम में जो भी आपको क्वेश्चंस के आंसर्स चाहिए वो आपको मिल सकता है, एंड दैट इज़ द मेन पॉइंट विच आई वांटेड टू कन्वे। तो यार मेन तो इतना ही बताना था इन दिस वीडियो। होपफुली अच्छा लगा होगा तो लाइक कर देना एंड चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कर देना।